can I have apologies for absence? I think we may have two running late. Because Councillor Higgins is definitely running late in traffic, I know, and we'd assume Councillor Dillon is similarly running late in traffic for a moment. And then we'll just see what happens as the thing goes on. There's only one matter left on tonight's agenda, which is item 7, Padcroft Works. Anyone got a declaration in that one? If you have, you just got a free evening, really. There were no minutes in the report. Item 6 was withdrawn by the Head of Planning earlier today, so we've got one item in Part 1. And that's it, people. There are no petitions. This is a variation on something we've seen before. So I'm going to, without any further ado, go straight to Mandy. Welcome back, Mandy, to Planning Committee, who is going to explain the changes to this one. Yeah, nice and close to your microphone. Yes, thank you for the reminder from the Head of Planning.
Thank you, Councillor Levy. I'm just going to figure out how to use the clicker, because I seem to have forgotten in the last year. I will get... Sorry.
Technology and us are not best friends.
Not best friends at Picture.
No comment on that.
Sorry about that.
I reckon the Chinese.
I'm 60 gone for another day.
Here we go. Agenda item 7. The application site is the Padcroft Works site. I know we've had this at Planning Committee a few times, so I'm not going to go through the minutiae of the detail, but there is an extant consent which has been implemented on the site for 308 residential units with some ancillary works as well as car parking on site. If we run through the plan, so we've got the site down at West Drayton. This was so what we sought to do in this application or in this presentation for members is to go through each plan, and the applicants quite helpfully provided comparison plans so you can see what the differences are between this scheme and the approved scheme. So the current arrangement at basement level just shows that there are some alterations at basement to accommodate additional or reconfigure the parking layout. At ground floor level, this is the proposed plan that's come forward through this current application, and the predominant changes are those areas highlighted in red. The application doesn't actually seek any extensions to the consented schemes that have already been granted on the site. What the application is proposing to do is reconfigure the internal layouts and provide an additional 7 residential units throughout the site. The changes are resulting in elevational changes through windows that are needed to accommodate the additional 7 units, but the design is influenced by what's already been approved on the site, so there is no material change in the overall appearance. The proposals will also provide the same ratio of parking, so the car parking provision on site has also increased, and the ratio is still 0.95 spaces as per the approved plans. If we run through the second floor, it's quite difficult for me to tell you exactly what the changes are. I can't find my pointer. Doesn't matter. But the red areas on these plans do run through all the changes. So this is the second floor with the red sections showing the internal configurations altered to provide the additional 7 units throughout the various floors of the buildings. This is the third floor. And the red blocks show the minor changes in layout. The fourth floor, again, it's predominantly those 3 blocks where there are small changes. Now these are obviously different to the plan pack that you have, because we've tried to insert some hopefully slightly more helpful plans with the changes in red, just to show that they are quite de minimis changes. If we go through the application in detail, the application will provide 7 additional units within the application site. This takes the development proposal to 81 one-bedroom units. Previously approved it was 76. 178 two-bedroom units. Previously that was 176 two-bedroom units, and 56 three-bedroom units. And again, previously that was 56. The number of units in total would increase from 308 to 315. with affordable housing across the site increasing from 46 to 48%. Units, sorry. Not percent. The number of car parking spaces, as I've mentioned previously, will proportionately increase. So we're going from 293 spaces to 299, and the parking provision remains as approved at 0.95 spaces. There is an addendum to this report, and you'll note that in principle most of the points are tidying up the decision notice in terms of there was a plan that wasn't circulated as part of the plans pack, so that's an apology on our behalf. The second is to add an informative, and this relates to the final layout of the cycle parking. I think this was a contentious issue at the last application because the quantums of cycle parking needed at the site have increased. So what we're looking to do is try and find more innovative solutions to reduce the land take and to actually provide the cycle parking that's deemed necessary at the site. Condition 1 relates to when the application will expire. Condition 20 was an oversight in that we should have written 299 car parking spaces, not 293. The amenity space calculations, unfortunately, were incorrect within the body of the report, but they're not substantially different and they have no material impact on our recommendation to approve. Informative number 25 relates to where the applicants have already discharged their conditions. What we want to do is to avoid the conditions coming back to us. The problem with this is that they have been, because this is a second iteration of planning permission, we're just clarifying exactly which planning permission we're referring to when we say they don't have to come back in to discharge their conditions. And I'd welcome any questions.
Right. There we go. 7 more units and clarification, therefore 2 out of the 7 are affordable. So that percentage on this bit is spot on. Anybody got any queries or questions? Oh, Councillor Duncan, Councillor Oswald.
Yes, just 1 or 2 clarifications. It says variation of condition 2, accordance with approved plans. I understand that because we've now got new approved plans, so new approved plans would be as shown. 15 pedestrian link and 23 car parking stackers. So could you just explain how there's a variation to condition 15 and the pedestrian link and 23 the car parking stackers?
I think the head of planning wishes to do that one for us.
And also, if I could just make the last point, I understand that this may be different, this plan, but maybe if we put up the other plan we could see it, but there appears to be some overlooking possibilities between habitable rooms, windows to habitable rooms on these corners. I know that they were sort of cleverly designed out on this and other schemes, and this is always an issue, but because these windows are so close, and particularly in summertime in hot weather, you don't want to hear every time somebody coughs, your neighbour coughs. So if you could just clarify that too, please.
If I can just come in on the first point. So what the description of development's saying is that we've already varied the last application that came to committee, filled in the link area, and that varied condition 15. So there's a further variation through this one to add the 7 additional residential units proposed. The applicant's effectively varying a 2014 planning permission. So effectively what this is doing is it's doing the changes you agreed last time at committee and then doing some further changes. So you've actually already agreed to fill in that pedestrian link. That was the last one that came to planning committee. But there is something to do with the description of development. You may want to give me delegated authority to update the final description before we issue a decision. So it says 299 vehicles. because this application did come in at 293 vehicles, and what we said to the applicant is we didn't want to lower the parking ratio, so it changed to 299 during the course of determination.
Just to be absolutely clear then, we're not, the reference to the variation on condition 15 and 23, those were the ones we agreed previously, and they're not changing it as a result of this application. Is that what you're saying, James?
Yeah, so the changes to 15 and 23 are things that have already been dealt with through
That's fine.
3886. So what this is about is the 7 additional residential
Yeah,
units
so I think that
are
answers the
reconfiguring
councillor's first
internal
point.
floor space.
So could we just amend that description? Because I think anybody reading this would think that the development that we are looking at tonight is variations of these conditions.
If you're happy to give me delegated authority, because it might be sensible that the final, when we send out a decision notice, the description development actually affects the number of parking spaces.
I think that may need, I think the way to
can-
put it may need a bit of tidying in terms of the way it's expressed.
And I'm comfortable we can do that without needing to go through the entire reconsultation
No,
process.
if we can just deal with the matters that we are looking at and deciding upon this evening, I think that makes it easier for everyone.
And the councillor
Thank
did
you.
raise another point, which I don't want to lose, which was the overlooking issue.
Could you just find out
So it was on those corners, wasn't it? It would be right in those corners, wouldn't it? You were there, weren't you? Yeah.
Between these windows, you see these are all habitable screens. So the windows
Have they changed, James?
He doesn't show any windows, so I might add.
Have those ones changed?
Literally started living in boxes. I'm sure there will be windows
Okay.
here, and
Okay.
they look as if they overlook to me.
So in that location there were windows previously, and there were also doors onto balconies which have just moved ever so slightly to possibly make privacy better under this scheme, under this over and above the approved development. If I try and go to, I'm sorry, I don't have the approved plan, but I can confirm
But-
that there was that relationship in previous
And there is a
approvals.
condition in here, condition 13, which
Yeah,
I think is maybe relevant.
So there's a relatively simple solution I have to this. So condition 13, we always knew there'd be some privacy screens and fins through this development proposal, and that covers those details. So, and then on the addendum in formative 25, we've said that they don't need to resubmit all of the conditions under the 2014 permission, but we've specifically excluded the cycle parking because we think 549 cycle spaces is probably slightly excessive. But so if we varied in formative 25, we could say details of condition 13 as
Yeah.
well that we might want to just double check,
Well, I think we do.
and that could give members more
Gi-
comfort on that issue.
Given that we are looking at this and we've just got sort of blocks round things, it would make sense to ask for that to be double checked. Councillor Duncan?
Yes, well, not just double check. Looking at condition 13, it's talking about the physical measures to prevent overlooking between flats, including the height, colour and material of balcony privacy screens. These units that I'm speaking about don't have balcony screens, so that issue doesn't arise. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about windows to bedroom windows, so that it looks on this as if you open your bedroom window and almost shake hands with the person in the next flat.
Because of all the angles on the scheme, it did always involve some distances window to window within the development that we're going to need a bit of screening.
I understand that. Here, for example. until we can actually see that for ourselves with some detail, then we haven't seen evidence that there isn't overlooking here.
Sorry, just to clarify, do you believe that there couldn't be privacy screening where you've highlighted? Is that your belief?
My belief is here, there's privacy screening on these balconies, but there isn't here between these units. On this, for example, there are windows here in these units, but there's a balcony here, so you could have privacy screening here. So that takes care of that issue.
I think the head of planning has a suggestion which may be helpful.
Going back to sort of the point you were making, so what they've done is they're using balconies to then help them deal with the overlooking issue, because they then add the screens. Yes. So it may be as simple as adding a balcony with a screen.
Well, not here.
Not
here. How are you going to get it in?
Just to check, can I?
We just need to see it. I'm not being difficult about this, but if we've got any kind of standards at all, we do need to be happy that they're being met. I'm very happy if they can get more units on, very happy that we're going to have more affordable units, great. But we don't need to see that this is being done at the cost of our own standards. We're here to uphold those standards and to see that, all to work together to see it there in place. As long as we can see that, there's no problem.
Actually, you have highlighted an issue, but I think it's one we can get around through planning conditions, is my position on it.
Well, could you explain how we could get round with planning conditions, please?
I mean, if members are uncomfortable, if you were to delegate to me to tweak condition 13, when we can then cross-reference with the relevant unit numbers on the development proposal, and I'm sure we can ensure that there's a privacy solution in place, because as I say, the developer is intentionally using balconies to overcome any overlooking issues, and when there's the different angles, so there will definitely be a solution that won't mean that they wouldn't be able to have a bedroom and a bedroom in that corner. So it's just making sure that the final scheme implements a solution to that issue.
I'm happy to agree that delegation, providing it does not result in windows to habitable rooms being frosted, which I think is against the most fundamental policy.
What they're doing here is they're having clear glazed windows out onto a balcony, and then they have a screen at the side of the balcony that stops any issue coming from 90 or 180 degrees.
If it can be done, I'm quite happy. What happens if it can't be done when you look at this in more detail?
Well, if it can't be done, then they can't meet the planning condition, can they? They're going to have to come back. They can't meet the condition.
If I can just highlight.
I mean, the condition is there to be met.
There's obviously a tight arrangement here, but they've got the balcony in, and the screen would work.
Okay. So we're not going to be able. I mean, the level of detail in the corner of this is too great for us now. But I think that represents an acceptable way forward, if the committee are agreeable.
Well, this condition 13 relates to balconies. And
no, with the wording it can be amended.
Right, okay.
I think...
But it actually says, it actually starts off with, notwithstanding the details submitted for each phase of development, full details of physical measures to prevent overlooking between flats.
That I would agree. I think that's quite clear, but if you do want clarity, because I think what happens is that you have that section up to overlooking between flats, and then including the height, colour, material of balcony, privacy. So it almost seems like that's the criteria that you need to prevent the overlooking, but that's not the case if you were to read it correctly.
Just to be 100% careful, I'm going to ask to pull it back and have it come back to myself and the Labour lead to look at. I think that's more sensible, just to make sure that final wording is absolutely what we want. I don't know whether which one of you is going to pick up for your lead.
I think John, would you like to do that?
Yeah. So if you're happy with that.
The only reason I mentioned about obscure glazing was because of that first part, which says, notwithstanding the details submitted, full details of physical measures, which would include that.
And I think
And
that's
why
not
I
what was
mentioned it.
intended.
So that even, yes, happy to agree that if a way forward can be found, providing that first part is not a way of getting in obscure glazing. That's all.
Well, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't consider that to be an acceptable way to do it. I don't consider if obscure glazing, habitable room windows, an acceptable way forward. It's not. Okay, I think Councillor Oswald, you had an issue, and I know Councillor Edwards wants to come in as well.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. I looked through this on Friday. Basically, at the car parking layout, which I'm quite happy with the 299 spaces. I don't know about the cycles. Might be a bit overkill, but there's no. I've been through this, and I don't seem to see that there's any charging points. And as more and more electric cars are being sold, I haven't seen it.
They may not be on there, but there's definitely. Condition 8 says 59 spaces served by electrical charging points and 31 for disabled. So if they're not shown on the plans, they've got to do it by condition.
Apologies, Chairman. I did look through the report.
No, that's all right.
I must have missed it.
It's just I thought if we've missed this twice, I would be surprised. We shouldn't have. Councillor Edwards?
I was just going to add to the discussion commenced by Councillor Duncan, and it is a very valid point that's being made about the overlooking. However, the plans that I've pulled up that are the ones online appear to show windows on a very similar relationship that we've already agreed. So the precedent has been set. And to treat these additional windows differently to that we've already decided just seems...
But equally, that's why condition 13 was in there to start with.
Fine. There are other 90-degree relationships, probably more acute than the one here, which is more than 90 degrees. These are windows. In there and in there. They're different flats. You know, this is a better angle. That is a more acute. And these are approved.
Yeah, I think we.
So I think we can find a solution within.
Yeah, I think we find a solution by amending the condition.
Absolutely.
I think that's the way forward on this one. Anybody got anything else at all on this one, or can I have a proposal to move us forward? Okay, so the only change.
The officer's recommendation.
As amended by the addendum. Anyone going to second? And that condition 13 needs to come back.
And condition 13 tightened.
Which is going to come back to myself and Councillor Oswald when it's been reworded, just so we can finally check it and make sure we're happy. Yep. All those in favour, please clearly show. Unanimously approved. Thank you very much. 6:21. That does us.